Hey guys, project-zodiac here. I'm back with another video, and in this video I'm reviewing a new movie that just came out called Mary. This movie was released on Netflix, so it's something that anyone can watch right now. I'm not planning to do a Christmas movie review for the holiday season, but when this movie came out, I was really excited to watch it, and considering it is about Mary, the mom of Jesus, and Jesus's birth, I thought it would be fitting to kind of just use this as kind of like a holiday related movie, even though I'm not planning to do a Christmas movie. Still kind of fits for that because for you know many religions, Christmas is to celebrate the birth of Jesus. Um, so since this movie does tackle that a little bit, I thought it would be really cool to talk about it. So this is my review of the movie, and yeah, I was really excited for it. It is a Netflix movie, so it's pretty easy to be watched for a lot of people. And it came out about a week ago. So, yeah, very excited to watch it. So the movie itself, though, was really good. There was a lot of beautiful imagery, a lot of very cinematic moments, and a lot of great directing choices. Uh, and even production choices as well, like the clothes, the outfits, the environment itself is really, really well done. Just the set design itself is very beautiful. So I loved how that was handled. It really does make you feel like you are there in that time. I do feel like there was a lot of close shots, close-up shots, and a lot of mid-range shots. Um, so it did feel a little bit claustrophobic. It didn't really let a lot of the beautiful imagery or set design really be shown, and you kind of just see it more in details here and there. Uh, but it worked. I thought that it was just really, really beautifully filmed, even if it was very close up for a lot of the film. You still really get to see a lot of the detail on the outfits, a lot of detail on the sets itself. I just do wish though that it was a little bit more extended with the camera so you could see things a little bit more. That's more of being a filmmaking, understanding how filmmaking works and making films myself and all that stuff. So that's more of a nitpick from me. Uh, but the movie itself, though, and what it set out to do, I thought it was really good. In terms of the acting, I thought that the acting from basically everyone was fantastic. I think that the actress that plays Mary, um, I think that this is her first movie from what I saw, and she does an amazing job. Really, like a fantastic job. And the actor who plays Joseph, Jesus's earthly dad, um, really did a fantastic job too. The two of them really worked really well with each other, and they're kind of the central part of the story, especially since the story is about Mary more than it is about Jesus because it's based on Mary. Um, so I thought that that was really good. The movie is 2 hours long, but it does feel very rushed. Like a lot happens. It does not feel like 2 hours. It feels like an hour and 20 minutes at the most. So it's a very fast paced movie. There's a lot that just goes into this movie, and it just, from the moment it starts till when it ends, it's just fast paced. A lot of things happen. Um, but it's done and told in a way that really captivates you. Like sometimes when I'm watching a movie, I multitask. Like I'll read something as I'm watching it, or I'll try to play a game or something. I'm just very good at multitasking and being able to pay attention to multiple things at the same time. But this movie was one of those movies where when you're watching it, because there's so much that's happening and it's done really well, your mind just sticks on it. So I wasn't really able to multitask on it because I was really like caught up with the movie a lot. And the part of that is too because the movie does have a lot of drama. It is like a historical, biblical epic and a drama at the same time. Um, and I'm not saying that that's the only reason why. Again, the way that the story is told, the way that the acting is, the way that the cinematography is, it's really good. So it really does just make you stay there locked on watching the whole thing. Um, and yeah, I thought it was fantastic overall. Such a beautiful movie. In regards to some CGI, there are definitely some CGI shots in it, and some of the CGI is really bad, but it doesn't take away from the movie. I've said this before multiple times in other movie reviews. The CGI element of movies is not something that really throws off the immersion or throws off the movie for me. Um, yes, I will say like, okay, that CGI was a little but does that really ruin the movie or the show? No. And honestly, I think that a lot of times people who nitpick on the CGI really are just being dumb about it. Yeah, like yes, CGI can look fantastic. Look at Disney's live action Lion King movie. That's all CGI and it looks amazing. Look at Avatar. It's all CGI for the most part and it looks so realistic and amazing. But then you got things like some stuff in Marvel movies, some things over here or over there in other movies, and then the CGI is like that looks terrible. Like you can notice when the CGI is really good or when it's okay or when it's bad, but it doesn't take away from the movie itself. So this movie is like that. The CGI here definitely is not the best, but it works. It's not terrible in that sense. So I really like that a lot in regards to how they handle the CGI because it's very few cases where they implemented CGI. Another thing that I also really liked is they did try to focus on putting the human essence into Mary and her family. And there's some things I want to say that I'm gonna save towards the end. Not necessarily about this movie, but in a lot of biblical movies, they kind of leave out the human element of things. Even some stuff from the Old Testament, like movies adapting the Old Testament, I don't know why people leave out the human elements of it. They try to make it seem like this huge, grand thing. And yeah, it's a huge, grand story and event, but it's like these are people. You can have a human element in it as well. You guys are aware of that, right? And I'll talk more about that in a little bit. So yeah, they handled the human element really well, but again, the movie is so rushed. You're just going from scene and event from to scene and an event, so the little moments that it does give those human elements, it's done beautifully. And I wish that the movie was maybe 2.5 hours long to let those human elements really breathe because of how quick the movie is. For example, I paused the movie at 30 minutes to just go get some water. And I'm sorry for my voice. That's part of the reason why I needed water. My voice right now is really, really dry and raspy. But part of when I paused that movie, what I'm trying to say of part of the movie being very fast paced, I thought I was already watching an hour at that point. But when I paused it was only half an hour and I was so shocked. I'm like, how is this only half an hour? So much stuff just happened. So it is very fast. But then at the same time, so much stuff happens in it. It's very fast. But then you actually look at the context of the story and you're like, yeah, a lot happened and a lot does happen in the actual story. But I feel like the story is a lot shorter than this. So it doesn't seem like it would fit 2 hours, but then it does. And it still feels like it's missing a lot of things, which I'll get to in my complaints. Um, So it's a very strange dynamic because it goes by so fast, so much stuff happens in it, and you feel like so much stuff is happening on it. But then when you sit down and you actually look at the story, it's like, yeah, a lot of stuff happened, but almost nothing. Like there wasn't a lot of things that happened, like a lot of different things. It was all just this thing with a lot of things in the middle happening, but it was all just one thing. I'm sorry if that sounds really confusing. um, so I thought that that was interesting. Again, I just wish it was a little bit longer so they could focus a little bit more on the humanity aspect, because that was done really well, and also talk about the things that they kind of left out, because there was a little bit of that. But right before we get into that, um, yeah, there is one other thing that I really liked a lot, and that is that, uh, like I said, all of the acting is fantastic. But whenever the Archangel Gabriel appears in the movie, the actor was amazing for it, for playing the Archangel Gabriel in that way. Like the way that the actor carried himself, it's very, like, it is in a very otherworldly kind of presence, and that was done really, really well. And also very calm and caring at the same time. Like the performance for the Archangel Gabriel in this movie, I thought, like it was one of the best performances in the movie. Whenever that actor shows up and he starts talking, he gets your attention because the line delivery, the posture, uh, the way he delivers the line, it is so good. That was definitely one of the best actors in this movie, and the movie already had so many amazing actors. Uh, but yeah, the way that they directed that was just amazing. I loved it. Fantastic, fantastic choice. Yeah, it really had like an otherworldly presence and a very nice focus on not like standing out, but also being something familiar, kind of like, yeah, that's an angel, but it's not there to scare you, and you feel, the familiarity, and you calm down as you hear him talk. And I think that that's very important, because if you look at, the Bible and many biblical stories, a lot of times, the angels appear and they say, do not be afraid. And then some people get scared, but when the angel starts talking, from what I understand, the people calm down. Um, so I thought that, again, here it was a person, like a regular human of appearance. And there was even a time where in this movie, the Archangel Gabriel does tell Mary, don't be afraid, I'm here just to tell you a message. And it's a good message. So, so yeah, it's not just here, and I think it's in a couple other places too in the Bible where it says that. I could be wrong, gotta double check that. But I do know that it is said in the Bible where an angel says, do not be afraid. Here in the movie, they do have the archangel saying that to Mary when he's talking to her. So I thought that that was really cool. And yeah, he really projected that essence of like, you're kind of caught off guard for a minute, and then you're like, okay, I'm calming myself down, and the way you're explaining and talking things is definitely calming. And there's a calming presence with you. So I think that the way that they directed that was really good. So I just wanted to explain that. Now, as for everything else with the movie, I just loved it. It was a great movie, but there are a couple of things that I do want to complain about. One, again, it's super fast paced. So the story just goes super quick. Two, it is that the story does leave out some things from the actual story. Of course, it is a movie. They do have to adjust parts of the story to fit a movie. I don't always agree with that, honestly. I don't know why marketing people in studios go with that mindset. Some things, sure, but a lot of things, especially just the beginning of, Jesus' story and then explaining his mom's story, I don't think that that was things that really needed to have anything left out. I mean, like I said, it's a lot that happens, but when you look at the actual plot itself, it's not as complex as everything else that comes after. So, I mean, it's still complex, but compared to everything that comes after, they could have easily left in everything. Um, so yeah, there was that. And then another complaint that I had is that they kind of dramatic, like they make things very dramatic, like extremely dramatic. Um, and the movie itself is also pretty violent. I was surprised by that. I mean, I know that the story itself is a bit complex with the actual situation of them having to run, escape for their lives, all of that. It is very complex for sure with that. But they kind of really make it like serious and gritty and severe. Like you see people being stabbed through their chest. You see people being uh, cut up all over the place. It is very dramatic, but it's also done in a realistic way. But then there are a few parts where you're thinking they seem to have gone a little bit overboard with the drama over here. Um, but it's okay. Um, and yeah, really, those are my only real actual complaints with the movie. Just those three things: that it's super fast paced, that they left out elements of the actual story. Not a lot of things were left out, just some things, and that it's just really dramatic. I don't mind that it's violent. I just think that there were a lot of moments where it was really dramatic. One other complaint is that I do think they did do creative liberty. So there was definitely a couple of things that is not part of the story or done a little bit differently, but it's not bad. It still stays very true to the story while altering some things. So I would say that maybe this would be about 70% faithful, maybe 80, 75% faithful, depending on how serious and uh, chaotic in terms of the drama it was actually all the way back then, over 2,000 years ago, with that situation. Um, but yeah, I would say it's about 75%, very close to it. And then some things are just altered a little bit differently, some things are missing, and then some things are just creatively done differently. But there is one other segment in this review that I wanted to talk about, and that is how it handles things in regards to the Bible. Now, for me, I do believe in God. I do believe in Jesus. And yeah, so I do have, that mindset of, having faith, um, praying, all of that. And I've talked about that in multiple videos. Like every time that I am unboxing something that I'm very grateful for in the video, I say I thank God so much for this. Um, so yeah, I am spiritual in that sense. So I do like watching movies and stories about the Bible and about Jesus and about God and just things regarding spirituality in general. Uh, so I'm always looking at things like that because I think it's very important. My whole life I've been like that. So, but the point that I'm trying to get at is, I had mentioned earlier that this movie incorporates a lot of the human elements, which is really good, and that is true because a lot of these biblical movies do leave out humanity. It leaves out a human essence to it. And this year, over the yeah, about over almost a year, I've been watching a lot of movies about Jesus, trying to find the best movie about Jesus. And all of the ones that I've seen and all of the ones that I grew up watching, I always felt like they left out his humanity a lot. Uh, a lot of times, it's almost like a documentary or a audio book with visuals. That's how a lot of these movies based on the New Testament, especially the Gospels, are done. And I never really understood why they couldn't just do a movie that really tells the whole story. There are a few, and as I watch them, I write my notes on all of them. So I do want to do a review on multiple movies based on Jesus. Um, but so far, I think there are two movies that I've seen out of, I believe, like seven or six, that really shows Jesus in a human way and his disciples as well. And then there's obviously the show, The Chosen, which really shows him in a human way, which is really, really good. Uh, yeah, so The Chosen is a fantastic show. But what I'm trying to say with that in regards to this review is, like I said, this movie does include humanity in it and a human essence of life in it. And a lot of biblical movies don't. So I'm glad that this movie does. And at the same time, though, I do know that a lot of people wouldn't really like the changes that this movie does because it removes plot elements from the actual story. Um, for example, if I remember correctly, at one point in the actual Bible, the Archangel Gabriel shows up to Joseph and tells him, you know, to not give up on Mary after he finds out that Mary's pregnant. This movie does not have that. It only has the Archangel coming to Joseph before Joseph meets Mary, and they kind of change how they meet. Again, some creative liberties, but it's okay overall. So I know that the movie will kind of upset a couple of people. In fact, I know for a fact because my mom saw the movie before I did. In fact, I had asked her, "Oh, did you see this new movie about Mary that came out?" And she said that she did, and she watched it the other day, and she kind of didn't like the movie so much. She said it was just okay. Um, so I was like, "Oh, why is that?" And she explained that they kind of changed some things from the story. So I was like, "Oh, okay." And then I watched it, and I see what she means. So yes, they did change very few things. So I know that a few people are going to be upset about it, but it's not giant changes overall. It's more smaller things. Um, but at the same time, a lot of people who I know for a fact that won't really be looking into this movie with, you know, there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be seeing this movie and they're going to be thinking that wasn't part of the story at all. Like, this whole backstory that we're getting is not part of the actual backstory. And what I mean by that is, for example, up until Mary and Joseph get married, a lot of the things there is things that we kind of get glimpses of in the Bible, and then a couple of things where it's slightly mentioned, and then a couple of things that, from my understanding, isn't actually on the Bible. Turns out that a lot of those things is actually from a apocrypha book called the Gospel of James, I think. Yeah, I think it's called the Gospel of James. I forgot. I literally looked this up right before doing this video. Such as Mary's parents, who they are, and information about, you know, Jesus in it, and a couple of other things like that. There was a whole backstory that came from this gospel, which is considered a apocrypha book. Now, for me, I do think that the apocrypha books, maybe not all of them, but a lot of them are actually canon. Like, for me, I do when you read it, you see it in the Bible, references to it, such as things with the Book of Enoch and a couple other books as well. So I do think that some apocryphal books definitely are canon, and I know that a lot of churches, like the Catholic Church, there's seems to be some sections where they do consider some apocryphal books as canon and some don't. So it's a little bit of a mix. So a lot of people who don't consider the Gospel of James, again, I'm probably getting the name wrong, canon, they're probably gonna think that the first half of this movie is just made up stuff, or if they know that it comes from an apocryphal book, they might actually even be upset about it. So just keep that in mind. But it's not a bad thing, and honestly, again, I think that people just need to research the apocryphal books a little bit more, because they will see that there are things that line up very, very closely to what the Bible says about those particular things. But overall, though, this movie was fantastic. I loved it. It was a really good showing of Mary and the struggles her and Joseph went through. And, like, one complaint that I do have actually is that we know in the story that Jesus was born in a stable. Yeah, where he's born in this movie does not really look like a stable, nor was there any animals other than a horse. So, in this movie, so yeah. But overall, though, I liked the movie. And again, Christmas is supposed to be a celebratory period for Jesus' birth. And, for that, Merry Christmas and Happy Birthday to Jesus. But I know that it's not exactly the day that he was born. And I also know that Christmas was originally a pagan thing, and then the Christians took it, modified it, and just used it as a date to actually celebrate Jesus, which, at least it's a day to celebrate him, even if it's not the right day. So, yeah, it's very interesting, the history of Christmas. I definitely recommend looking into it. But it is a day to celebrate in Jesus' birth. So for that, that's why I say happy birthday to Jesus, and also thanking God for him, for sending us him. And also just, for those that don't celebrate that part of Christmas, but do celebrate, the family and the gift giving part, I also say Merry Christmas for everyone. So not a Christmas review, not a Christmas movie review, but it is a Christmas movie review at the same time. So yeah, I really recommend watching this movie. It is a beautiful movie, and it shows a lot of the struggles that Mary and Joseph had to go through. But it also shows a lot of beautiful things too. So really, I recommend watching this movie. If you guys have seen it, let me know what you think. Even though this did take some creative liberties with a couple of things, I do think this is a very good biblical movie as well. What I mean by that is a movie based on biblical text. So I do think it's very good. And yeah, I really do think that you all should watch this. So thank you for watching. Rate, comment, subscribe, and I'll talk to you later. Have a good day.